Hello and welcome to this next edition of our KIT video series. My name's Brad, I'm part of the team here at Keller Education, and it's so great to be part of the session with you and to get us all together at this stage of the year. As we start looking towards the end of the year, we start thinking about all the admin, all the marking that needs to be done, and the KIT video is designed to spend a couple of moments together now, just refocusing us on what really matters right now, and getting some collaboration between one another, between the staff members that are watching this together, having a bit of fun, and just thinking a little deeply about some concepts that you can then take back into the classroom and share with your students. So to start off the session, what I'd love you to do is, wherever you're watching this, whether you're in a classroom or a large staff lounge, I want you to stand up, right? Join me by standing up. Now, when the music comes on in a moment, I want you to take 10 really big steps, and I want you to find a partner. Are you ready? And go. All right, I'm going to stop you there. Turn around, find a partner, you got someone, make sure you're standing next to them. I want you to start off by giving them a big high five and say, howdy partner, so great to see you. Now that you've got that person with you, I want you to have a quick check-in with them. And by this stage of the year, you know about that 4-point scale. I want to check in with that partner, find out how they are doing on a scale of 1 to 4, a reason for that. And once they've shared their reason, I then want you to ask your partner what their highlight was of last week. It could have been a busy week, it could have been a difficult week, it could have been an exhausting week. But through that, I want you to look for something that really stood out, something that was great, and share that with your partner, and then we'll be back in a few moments. All right, everybody, well done, and thank you for checking in with one another. I'm going to ask you to take your seats or find a seat nearby with your partner so that you can work together and connect a little bit over the next little while I share this with you. So today's topic of discussion is going to be on this concept of decision making, this concept of judgment. And the reason I want to talk about this with you today is because our students are living in a world where there is information overload, whether it's coming from social media, whether it is coming from the multitude of news that's coming at us with different bias, all the stereotypes we're dealing with, artificial intelligence, which has its own ethical issues that we are facing. All this data is coming at our students. And in this, what I like to call this podcast generation, we just believe whatever we hear and take that as the truth, and share that information with other people without checking, without analyzing, without thinking critically before making informed decisions. And so I want to share with you a little bit about why that happens and maybe what we could be doing as teachers to counter the challenges we're facing in this generation. And what is interesting for us to note is that when we dig into decision making, we learn that our decisions are actually almost predetermined based on our existing mindset. Now that's a lot of big words. What do I mean by that? Well, let me perhaps get into a few examples with you. When we hear certain ideas and we want them to win, then we almost defend them with everything in our being. But that was predetermined. On the same side, when we hear other ideas and they're seen as the enemy, then we'll do whatever we can to shoot that idea down. And that was also predetermined. So with that partner that you're sitting with, I'm going to ask you to take this a step further now and ask that partner, have you ever read a research study perhaps that examined a controversial study or perhaps a policy? So something you read, maybe it's some research even that as Keller Education we've shared with you throughout the year, and you've either gone, oh, love that, I agree with that, or you've gone, I don't agree with that at all. Think about a moment that's perhaps happened in your life and share it with your partner. All right, I'm going to pause you there. So perhaps that research study, maybe if we focus ourselves in something very educational and something that is talked about quite a lot in the education space, right from primary school right up to high school, is this concept of homework. And what if the research study that we came across was one telling us that homework adds zero value to student performance? Now, for the sake of this presentation, I'm not going to share my opinion on it. But what if we came across a study that said that homework adds zero value to student performance? Immediately, there's going to be almost two sides to this, right? There's going to be half of you that are saying, I agree, and there's going to be half of you who disagree. So if you support and enjoy the concept of homework and you've been doing it for years and you've seen value in it through your eyes, through your lens, you've seen value in it, and the study disagrees with you, what's going to happen is that you're going to be motivated right now to find reasons to discredit to discredit that study. You're going to be looking for how many students were involved. You're going to be looking for what country did this happen in? What year did this happen in? I want the details. I want to go read it myself. That's going to be your natural response to hearing this information. However, if this study agrees with your existing mindset towards homework, so then it's a good study. So if I believe in homework and the study says that homework is good, no questions asked. Equally so, if I don't believe in homework and the study is telling me that homework is bad, also no questions asked. I'm going to go with it because that is my existing mindset. And that's when there's a high probability of sharing that with friends, with colleagues, and even in presentations. And it's something we have to be so aware of. And so the statement on the screen right now, I believe, is really powerful. We are influenced unconsciously by which side we want to win. We are influenced unconsciously by which side we want to win. And this is not just with research studies. This is with war. This happens with data coming at us when we're watching sports matches. It's looking on things and disagreements we see on social media. We see different YouTubers having disagreements and we choose a side. This is the world our kids are living in, and they all are picking a side of who they want to win and finding reasons why to support that. And I want you not just with your partner, but to now look around and team up with another 2 people that are sitting nearby. So now there are 4 of you in a group. I want you to unpack that statement together and how it relates both to your lives as teachers, as adults, as people in relationships and living in this 21st century, well into this 21st century, but also in the lives of the students you work with. Talk a little bit about it and unpack the statement together. All right, I'm going to stop you there. So let's take it a step further now. The next question is going to come up on screen now, and with that same group of 4, I want us to unpack, so then why are some people able to cut through that prejudice? They're able to cut through that bias and motivation to be right and just see the facts and evidence objectively. Think about the kids in your class. Think about your friends, your colleagues, your family. It's not very common, but some people are able to take that step back, to not be influenced by that bias and motivation and the prejudice, and they are able to see things objectively. But why? What makes them special? What sort of traits do they have that allow them to do that? Let's get a bit of a brainstorm going with those 4 people in your group, and we'll take it from there. All right, great. I'm going to pause you there. And if you get an opportunity, and if you are watching this as a large staff on a big screen or on a TV, I'd encourage you to just pause this video right now and just get a couple of the groups of 4 around the room to share a couple of their ideas. Do that for me for a moment. For those of you that have continued and not paused, or perhaps you have, let's move on to giving you the solution in this case. And I believe what I want to share with you today is that why do people have that ability to look past their bias, to be aware of their bias and the stereotypes, and look more at the facts and evidence to make an informed decision. And I believe we call that the scout mindset. And you may say to me, what is a scout mindset? And I believe the scout mindset is the ability to get an accurate picture of reality when unpleasant or inconvenient. And it's like this picture that's on the screen right now. It's the ability for us to see the problem, to see the research study, to see whatever is happening on social media out in this world, and to climb the tree, to get to the top of that tree and to get a view of what's happening around us, to get a view of all the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, all the information before jumping to conclusions. And so Julia Galef, the brilliant Julia Galef, and wonderful author, shares a few ideas about this scout mindset that I want to share with you. And it involves not making one idea lose and the other idea win. It's not about that. It's not about win or lose, but rather to see what is out there as honestly and as accurately as possible. And the key is that even if it's not convenient or accurate. So it's not about just simply finding data that links to my existing belief, but rather the ability to see what is out there. And so we've got to ask ourselves, what makes a scout? What makes somebody a good scout? What gives them the ability to climb that tree and to have this view of the world? And there's 3 ideas I'm going to share with you today. And the first one is that we want to be curious. Not only do we want to be curious, but we want to instill curiosity in the children we work with. And so there's 2 caps you got to wear the whole time. Both inward, looking at ourselves as educators, as people, as human beings, as husbands and wives, as partners, look at ourselves, even when we get into those frustrating arguments at dinner over these difficult concepts. We're looking at ourselves, but also, importantly today, the children in our class. So what do I mean by being curious? Well, when we are curious, when we instill curiosity in our kids, we're more likely to feel a sense of pleasure when they learn something new or solve problems. We're also more likely to feel a sense of intrigue when something contradicts our existing sort of expectation. And I love that because our go-to, I know my natural sort of go-to is that if I am wrong, I'm going to naturally either respond a bit defensively or a bit aggressively because I'm annoyed that I'm wrong. But if we can instill a sense of curiosity, then we can move that to intrigue. The second point that I want to share with you is the concept of being open. A sense of openness that we want to instill in our students and within our own lives. And openness speaks to this whole concept of changing our mind. And through the movie industry, through just social norms, we've been taught, and perhaps it's a myth, that if you are able to have your mind changed, that is a sign of weakness. Just recently I saw a wonderful interview with the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And she was sharing that one of her great criticisms over her career has been that she has been said that she is weak. And she said, simply because I show empathy, simply because I listen to other people's opinions, simply because I'm willing to change my mind if there is proof provided, does not mean that I'm weak. And I couldn't agree more with that. And I believe that's a myth that needs changing. Simply because you can look at the data and go, that's new, that's different, doesn't make you weak. It makes you open, it makes you strong, and it shows empathy, the ability to put yourself in the shoes of someone else, or to move without yourself and look back within and say, that's quite cool. The third idea I want to share with you today is the concept of being grounded. And when we are grounded as teachers, when we are grounded as students, we realize that your self-worth as a person is not tied into how right or wrong you are about a topic. Being grounded allows us to look at this study about homework and say, I've never thought about it that way. But when I look at the stats across millions of students, it looks like I've been wrong, and perhaps I need to make a change in my mindset so I can provide the best to these students. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a bad teacher. It doesn't mean that you are wrong all the time. No, you are just learning something new. And we speak all the time about being lifelong learners. And this is just another instance of that. And that's the ability to be grounded. And so these three ideas on screen right now are so powerful, and we have to say to ourselves, this cluster of traits predict good judgment. And we're wanting to send kids with good judgment out into this world where they're going to be vulnerable, where there is this volatility, where there is this uncertainty. They're living in a world with a complex society which is constantly changing. It's ambiguous. No one knows what to expect at any time. And if we're moving out into this world, we need to seriously focus on sending kids with good judgment out there. And so the question I want you to debate now is, what are you doing in your class to provide opportunities for engaging with data and for being curious, giving opportunities to be open and to be grounded? I'd love you to sit with that group of 4 and take a moment or two now to unpack what you are doing right now to ensure that happens. And perhaps you're not doing anything, and that's okay. But what could you do? Thank you, folks. As we wrap up this kit video, I want to ask you one question. and we're not going to talk about it today, but something that I would love to sit with you as you go into this day, or if you're going home this afternoon, and think about. What do you yearn for as a human being, as a teacher, to defend your own belief, or to see the world as clearly as you possibly can? Thank you so much.